It's Laura from Laura Wamwell Photography, and joining me today is Tom Fitzgerald, and he is the owner of Global Pet Foods at Victoria and Grange. Hi, Tom. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Hey, Laura, pleasure to be here.
So, operating and owning a pet store, that must be a huge challenge. What got you interested in doing this?
I've always had a love of pets ever since I was a kid. I've owned dogs and cats. We had a turtle for a brief time, which didn't work out too well. But it's just a love of animals. And to be honest with you, the welfare of them, not just having them, but making sure that they're getting the best that they can get and best treatment and whatnot.
Nice. So, within Global Pet Foods, I believe it's a franchise, correct?
It is a franchise, yes.
So, how does that work? Are all the Global Pet Foods the same, or do you get to customize your store?
We're probably about 75 to 80% the same. You'll find that it's kind of a neat opportunity because each market's a little bit unique. Say downtown Toronto, where there's condos, you'll find a lot more cats and smaller dogs versus, say, here where I am, I happen to be a little bit of a larger dog store. So Global allows you to kind of tailor the store to your market, which is great. So we probably carry about 75 to 80% of the same products. But after that, we can pretty well tailor it to what the market wants, and especially on accessories and whatnot. So you will find, as I said, about 75% of the food and major items are the same. That 25% is really targeted towards what the market dictates.
Nice. So, would you say there's anything in particular that your store really specializes in?
We try, and I hate the saying, we try and be a little bit of everything to everybody. Um, we don't do a lot of fish and reptile. We do concentrate mostly on our four-legged friends, cats and dogs. We've expanded into raw in the last couple of years, and that again has been a market segment that we've seen growth and demand. So we've doubled our number of freezers, but we're very heavy cat and dog. But as I said, we have a little bit of everything at the end of the day for everybody.
Perfect. What is your favorite thing to help people with inside your business?
Just to see a bad situation and make it better. We get a lot of people that come in with some pretty funny situations. They're pretty basic, where they're totally at a loss for what to do or what's the next step. And some of them are so basic and so easy to fix, and they just don't know how. So there's nothing better than kind of having somebody come in with a problem and having them and their pet leave, knowing that you've improved the situation or fixed a pretty easy problem.
Nice. I know a lot of pet stores will contribute to the community, and I know for a fact that you at your store have been involved in a number of charitable ventures over the years. So I would love to hear about some things that you've been involved with giving back to. I know there have been some rescues that you've helped out.
Yeah, we're actually huge in that. And I'm a firm believer of where you live, work, and play, you give back. You don't just take from a community. So we're very involved with the sponsorship of hockey teams, lacrosse teams, soccer teams, baseball teams at the community level. We're there often looking for things. Uh, we're also involved in some of the churches around town in advertising and helping them out. But when it comes to the absolute charities, you're right. We do a ton for rescues. We've got show us your heart with all that money going to local shelters also. And I would say at the end of the year, there's probably about 5 or 6 charities that we contribute to each year. It's very important for us. As I said, our belief is, if we feel the money is going to a good use in our community, it's really important that we back our community and put something back into it to make sure that the welfare of everybody, the pets especially, is improved.
That's so wonderful, and I'm sure the community really appreciates all of those efforts to give back and to help support the pets that are here locally. What's something that you wish that the general public knew about, whether it's operating a pet food store or running a pet food store? What's some little tidbits behind the scenes that we don't know about?
I think probably just how difficult it is, to be very honest with you. When I first got into it, I was talking to somebody, and they basically said, "You're like a 6,000 item hardware store." And yeah, we do literally carry items in the thousands. It's constantly moving. You've got, times of COVID, supply issues from vendors that are kind of out of your control. Um, so we try and keep the wheels on as best we can, and that takes a ton of behind the scenes action where I think sometimes the consumer kind of comes in and thinks, I'm just going to go to the spot on the shelf and it's going to be there, and not realizing the fact that we might have driven 100 miles to meet a vendor somewhere to get a special order because we were short shipped for 2 weeks. There's a lot of moving parts to it. It's a great business though, having said that.
Wow. So I know you mentioned some challenges with suppliers due to COVID. Are there any other changes that this past year has forced you to make in your business?
Yeah, it's well, COVID obviously with even something as simple as pictures with Santa had to be canceled. Our customer appreciation day was canceled. Uh, Nail trimming can't be done. So it's a constantly evolving process. We do offer, which a year ago to this day we didn't have. We do offer curbside pickup. We also have a e-commerce site now, which came out unfortunately after the first lockdown. So you're ever evolving and ever changing your business, just to adapt, improvise, and overcome with the challenges that are being thrown at you. And I think every small business in Guelph is kind of going through that, where you've just got to be flexible and learn how to do things better.
Absolutely. Are there some things that you've implemented during COVID that you think you'll keep?
Actually, we were talking about this the other day. Yes, we are going to keep curbside. So anybody who doesn't want to come down into the store, even after COVID's over, we'll continue to do that. Our e-commerce site is here to stay, and we're finding tremendous success with that. There's been a couple little bugs in it, but those have been quickly worked out. But I think it's going to change kind of the way we look at business, and without trying to get too deep, maybe certain things we took for granted, we might not take for granted coming up. We're a little more appreciative of the little things that before you might not have been appreciative of. Uh, but I see those from a business point of view. Uh, those will definitely be staying, and hopefully the things like the masks and everything else will one day go away and we'll get back to a little bit of normalcy.
Here's hoping. So, I know we've talked a bit about the store, but I'd love to talk a little bit about you and your pet as well. So I know you have a cat who lives with you. So tell me a little bit about your cat and how he came to be with you.
Well, Bruce, I obtained probably about 14 months ago, just prior to COVID. And he was actually from the Humane Society here in Guelph, and quite a little guy, to the fact where nobody wanted him. And he came from a very difficult background uh, that made the press here in Guelph, and it was not a good situation. And so he was socially inept, required eye surgery, required a lot of TLC. And in talking with the Humane Society, nobody wanted him. And I'd kind of kept my eye on him. So I was talking with June one day. I said, is he still there? And she said, yeah. I said, I'm going to take him. And so it's been a lot of work in progress. The first 6, 7 weeks, I could not be in the same room with him. Left out water and food, and he would be under a bed. And slowly, after the 6th week, started venturing out. And it probably took me another 2, 3 weeks before I actually got to touch him. Right now, we're inseparable. And it's
Hmm.
been great. It's been a great journey for him, and I think he's enjoying his life a lot more. I've got a very quiet household. He is the king of the castle there, and obviously owning a pet store, he's got a lot of toys and neat things to play with.
Nice. Are there any particular favorite things that you do together?
What don't we do together? He's not to go outside. He's got some challenges there, but we play a ton. One of the things that's been occurring lately at night, though, is he will jump up on my bed, and as I roll over, I will roll over about 10 to 15 objects that he's brought into bed, which has been kind of cool and neat. But the neat thing is we've grown to a point now where there's a lot of trust between the two of us. He trusts me, which I never thought would happen. Uh, from the time he could be sassy like any cat, but we do have a really, really great relationship. And there's very few times I'm a sports nut where if I'm watching the hockey game or the baseball game, that he's not lying in my lap or somewhere touching me or up over my head getting ready to jump on me.
Oh, nice. It's so incredible to see when you've adopted a pet and you're not sure if they're going to settle in. Once they're like, yep, you're my human, there's nothing like that in the whole world.
It's really weird because I've got a house that is narrow and goes up. So I decided to approach him from below. He was on a landing.
Oh,
And he had earlier in that day kind of come into the living room and just sat down about 10 feet from me and just stared at me. Oh, that's interesting. It's kind of new. So later on that night, he was on the landing and I approached from down below. So he was above me,
huh.
put a treat there, and he ate it, put a treat. So we started doing this for about 10 minutes. I finally put one on his paw and he ate it. And I put another on his paw. The next thing I put one on his paw and I started petting his paw and he didn't move away. And that was the beginning. And 24 hours later, he's literally rolling and letting me pet him. Now, any quick movements, and he would freak.
Yeah.
But that's pretty well, like, I can't believe the trust he has in me now. Like, for a cat, yeah, he will just come in. I'm not a big one of having cats in the bed. Guess what? I have a cat in the bed. But it's a great feeling, that's for sure. And to be honest with you, there were times in those first 2 months where I honestly wondered if we would ever get there.
Amazing. Well, it looks like you're getting there. Um, so I would love to know, do you and Bruce have any favorite local, whether it's pet care providers, or even favorite, treat providers that he particularly likes?
He's been a very difficult cat in terms of we're still trying to get to a vet, and we kind of laughed on that, but it is ongoing work in progress. They gave one of the pills that kind of knocks him down and sedates him a little bit. Nope, he won that battle. And in terms of food, thank God I own a pet store because we're finally at a point now where we've settled on a couple things. He's been a very picky eater.
Mm.
And that's probably been my main concern with him. And he has had trouble with certain foods. But when it comes to treats, he's pretty good in which he'll eat anything. And so luckily, hopefully we can keep him on one or two foods. We do the kibbles, we do the wets, he gets his treats. And, as I said, the treats we can rotate around and he's really happy with those.
Excellent. So I have a couple of quick fire questions for you before we end off. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Cat or dog?
Believe it or not, dog.
Favorite
But
breed?
that's changing.
Favorite breed?
Favorite breed, Labrador Retriever.
What is Bruce's favorite toy?
He's got a little mouse that's stuffed that literally you will find anywhere and everywhere in the house and follows him around.
Is Bruce full of beans, full of dreams, or full of something entirely different?
Completely sassy. He is sassy cat to the extreme. But
Nice.
he is fantastic. He can have his attitude.
If Bruce were to be played by a human actor in a movie, Who would play Bruce?
Wow. Who's the guy from Born Identity? Um,
Matt Damon?
Matt Damon. He just doesn't care what's in his way. He's coming through and look out. So I would say he'd be a Matt Damon.
That's awesome. If money were no object and all of our current restrictions were lifted, what is one amazing thing that you would do to spoil Bruce?
I would love to at one point try to bring in another cat with him. And that's going to take, from a money point of view, time at the house. I'm not sure if it will be possible, but I would just love to, make sure he's got every toy and gadget and a happy life and well fed. And but the biggest things are things that don't cost money, and that's love, love and affection, and just make sure he's got a ton of that around and is surrounded in a loving household.
That's such a wonderful answer. So, speaking of love and affection, how can this Southwestern Ontario pet community best show your business some love?
If you ever have a need, obviously reach out to us. And even if it's not something, one of the things Global Pet Foods, we try and be a little different from everybody else is that in terms of knowledge. It might not even be something that we sell or anything, but reach out to us if you're stuck on something, if you're banging your head against the wall, we're here to help. One of the things that I will say that we do in the store is we don't sell you on quota. We don't sell you on, our brand. It's what's best for the animal. And if it's something that we don't even carry, we'll tell you where to get it. At the end of the day, it's about what's best for the welfare of the animals, simply put.
Well, and I think too, realizing that in your local store, you're dealing with local people who, want to help you. They love pets. That's why they're there. These days, the more we can do to support local business, the better.
And I will say, just as a quick aside, through COVID, I know it's been difficult for consumers and customers. We're doing this today. We expect the rules to change later on this week again. Our customers have been phenomenal, and they've really helped. And they've been forgiving and they've been helpful, and we've been thanked at the door, and we've been brought coffee and things. And you know what, we appreciate that. Not that you have to do that, but it's nice when people do appreciate the effort that does go in behind the scenes, especially when you are in a pandemic. The store magically opens up every day. It doesn't mean that people weren't there 3-4 hours before doing the curbside and the e-commerce and putting in a lot of extra time and staying late to tear down orders to restock shelves and whatnot. But I will say we're very fortunate. We have just a great customer base. They're fantastic people and they're pet lovers.
So, if folks want to show you some support, where can we find you both physically and on the internet?
So physically, obviously, we're located in the Victoria Grange plaza. So you can come down pretty well at any time, and our hours are on Google. On the internet, we have an e-commerce site, guelphvictoria.globalpetfoods.com. You can order e-commerce there. We don't have every product in the store online, but we do have the majority. And outside of that, just call us. We'd be more than happy to help you or tell you, a way that we can help you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Tom. It's been a pleasure. And is there anything that you would like to say to the pet community in Southwestern Ontario?
I think this is an awesome initiative. And I know it's been really difficult for everybody in the last year. But to be honest with you, the only way we're going to get through this is by everybody pulling together and helping everybody out. And if we do that, it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier. If we don't, it's going to make it a lot more difficult. So appreciate your initiative in doing this. And the pet community has been fantastic so far. I just want to make sure that we keep helping each other out.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate you chatting with me. It has been fantastic, and I wish you and your team at Global Pet Foods all the best for your continued success.
Thank you
This
so
is
much. It's been a pleasure joining you today.
this is Laura from Laura Wamwell Photography. I'm joined by Tom Fitzgerald of Global Pet Foods at Victoria and Grange, and we both hope that you and your pets have an awesome day. Bye.